hosting this show. Me, your usual host Daisy.
I'm Lillian.
You're welcome once again. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, to like, to comment, and to share this video, because these videos are very educative and we want them to go out there to the public for them to know what we are doing and the impact we are having on you as the community. So our viewers, today we are going to talk about sexual exploitation of children. This is something that has been on for quite some time, but it is not often talked about in the media. And the only times that they speak about it is when maybe something exceptional has happened. Like they hear maybe someone has defiled a 4-month-old baby, then it gets out of the media. But this is something that we deserve to talk about. And considering that we are people who are working in these areas, I think this is one of the ways we can come out to speak out to the public, to educate them further about what they should look out for, how they can avoid sexual exploitation of children. So this program is proudly sponsored by St. Daniela Education Services, and this is a day and boarding nursery and primary school located in Namayumba, and their contact is 0392 003180. In order for you to have quality education, a safe environment where your child will not be sexually abused and exploited, please look nowhere apart from St. Daniela Education Services. We are also proudly sponsored by Lien's Bakery, and this bakery does cookies, cakes, and all other confectionaries. So in case you have any orders, you have birthday cakes, you have weddings, you have office tea parties, small parties, please call out to us. We shall supply these items that you need to have for these small meetings and the big meetings. Our contact is 0754 13 90 99. And the way we look today, we are proudly dressed by Save and Have Enterprises. I think, Lillian, we look great, yeah?
Sure.
You look beautiful in this pink dress, yeah.
I like your polka dots.
Thank you very much. So it is Save and Have Enterprises that has given us these beautiful dresses that you see. And this shop is located at Ham Shopping Center at 2nd floor, room F2019. So in case you want any sleigh dresses for sleigh queens, office dresses, party dresses for adults, and that is women, you have needs for children's items, clothes, shoes, etc., jewelry of any kind, please come to us and contact us. Our contact is 0754 13 90 99. And the videos, the audios you are watching and listening to now, proudly sponsored by Urban Events. If you have any function, be it a small birthday present, a giveaway ceremony, if you have a speech day at your school, or you just want to take a snapshot and you feel like you want to slay or feel like a slay queen, please contact Urban Events. Their contact is 0759 52 01 60. So Lillian, we've told our viewers we are going to be speaking about sexual exploitation of children. So when we speak about sexual exploitation, what do we mean? It means the actual or attempted abuse of a position of responsibility by a person who has power over a child, and they end up sexually, or you may attempt to abuse a child because you are in a position of responsibility. For example, you might be a parent, yeah? So, and you're taking advantage because maybe you're a parent or a teacher, and you end up like taking this child into sexual actions. So that is what we call sexual exploitation of children. Of course, there are different types of sexual exploitation of different people, but our focus today is going to be children. And I think all of us are have vulnerable children who can be subjected to this kind of exploitation. So the reason we are coming out today is to speak out to you, our dear viewers, whether you're an uncle, an auntie, a neighbor, a relative, please look out for what we are going to tell you and make sure that we protect our children against sexual exploitation.
So when you think it is, when you talk about the introduction of sexual exploitation, to me it gives a mixed feeling of the viewers out there need to know who exactly can be sexually exploited, then again by who, and then to who, you know. So the viewers out there need to understand this clearly. Who is who can be a culprit, you know. So please let us know about that.
So there are different people. Any of us can be a culprit of sexual abuse. A man can be a culprit, a woman can be a culprit, children, any other person, whether you're mentally well or you're mentally sick. So any of us can be sexually exploited regardless of their age. We have seen newspaper reports and reports over television where, for example, an 80-year-old woman has been raped, for example. That is also a form of exploitation. So it means sexual exploitation has no age limit. It has no limits on the sex. A boy can be sexually exploited as well as a girl. But now the most important issue that we want to emphasize in this show is the sexual exploitation of children. Now you also asked me that who can exploit these children, yeah, sexually. There are different kinds of people who can subject children to sexual exploitation. But the most important two categories are adults. Adults can sexually exploit children. How do they do that? They can expose them to sexual acts like defilement, like pornography, yeah, and any other kind of sexual abuse. Because naturally children are not supposed to be subjected or exposed to any form of sexual interaction. And when I talk about sexual interaction, I mean any kind, be it physical or virtual. Yeah, when I talk about virtual, it means these pictures that they might watch on TV, or on radio, or on social media. Yeah, so adults can sexually exploit children, and this can be all. It can. The list is non-exhaustive, but it can include parents. A father can defile their own child. An uncle can defile their own child. A mother can defile their son. Yeah. So when I speak about defilement, it does not only apply to girls, even boys. A mother can molest a boy. Yeah. So it can be a relative. Your relative can come to your home and molest your child, or defile them, or sexually abuse them. Yeah. So when I speak about who can, any person can actually exploit your child.
So when you also talk about children, I think let the viewers out there get to know who a child is in this case. You know, for Ugandan case, what is the age group that we are looking at here?
So for a child under Ugandan laws, that is the Children's Act and its amendment, is any person, plus the Constitution, is any person under the age of 18 years. So if someone is below the age of 18 years, they are presumed to be a child in Ugandan laws. So these are the kinds of people we are talking about.
Although of course I understand also adults can be exploited.
Yes, they can.
But here today the target is children also.
Yes.
So when you also mentioned about who can do this, it may not necessarily be a relative or a biological person. Because I think in our setting, community or family, you know, it's more of also extended. You know, in my house I may have maybe a helper, a gardener or someone. So also the reverse is true. It can be a helper or a gardener who can exploit either a child within that home, or if it's an institution like in schools, churches. So I think what you're trying to say also makes sense when I look at that. As long as we are targeting this age group and the adults that really do these acts. So in this case,
But also, I talked of two categories: the adults, even children themselves.
children, eh?
Yes, children can also exploit fellow children sexually, and in the law we call it child-to-child sex. So I'm not going to use a lot of legalistic language for people to start wondering what I mean, and that's why I'm not using the legal terms, yeah? But we call that child-to-child sex. For example, you can find a child of 16 years having sexual intercourse with a child of 13 years or any other age. And of course, these are challenges that we experience because of maybe the settings, because of the economic situations that are taking place in a certain environment. And therefore, parents and our viewers out there, you should be on the lookout. You should know that even a fellow child can sexually abuse another child. Sometimes it is forceful, and other times it is consensual, like they consent. They consent, yeah? Like they start practicing what they have been watching on TV. Yeah.
So with that, then what are the signs of sexual exploitation among the children? What is it that our viewers out there can look up to see that this is a sign of sexual exploitation?
So I think one of the major signs that you may look out for is the inappropriate behavior of children. I'll give an example. You as a parent or as an adult out there, you might find that your child is behaving in a manner that is questionable and you're not really comfortable. For example, if it's a boy, you find that they are sneaking out of the house at a certain time. Or if they are, for example, using gadgets, they are hiding away maybe their passwords. They are glued to this other kind of program. In the night you're sleeping, they are trying to look out for these videos that are not really educative, yeah? So this inappropriate behavior, sexual behavior, you know, it is usually sexual. Or if it's a girl, they are dressing in a particular manner. It's a young girl, but you see they want to dress in a particular way. They want to look so beautiful, you know, tempting to the other sex, you know. So you have to be on the lookout when you see this kind of inappropriate sexual behavior. And the other thing is that sometimes these children, after they have been sexually exploited, they have fear for particular people or particular places. I will give an example. Lillian, if you have your son and he has been staying with his uncle or his teacher, and then all of a sudden you find that your son fears that person, they don't want to associate with them. When you tell them go to Uncle X, they're like, no, they are resenting. And yet originally they used to associate so well. Or maybe their teacher, you find that this is a girl who has been going to teacher X in a certain school. They've been speaking highly about this teacher, but before you know it, the child doesn't want to go to school anymore. So this kind of fear, you have to find out, why is there this sudden change in my child, yeah? Or for example, you used to go to the well with your child, and all of a sudden, every time you talk of going to the well to fetch water, they're like, no, mommy, I don't want to go to the well. Try to find out, why are they fearing to go to these places, yet originally they used to go there, yeah? The other thing that you have to look out for are these secrets. Do you know that our children have secrets that they never speak about? You might find that your child is open to you as a parent. They'll tell you, mommy, when I went to school, my teacher gave me a sweet, did ABCD. Uncle came to our home, he did ABCD. But now, after they have been sexually abused, they usually keep it as a secret because they have been warned by the perpetuator not to mention it to anyone, that they will either be killed, they'll be punished. They threaten them. So they keep it as what? As a secret. And even if sometimes you try to ask them to interrogate them or even threaten them, they'll not speak out. They keep it as a what? A secret. And for adults out there or parents who have girls, please try to be in these girls' lives as they grow into adults. Sometimes they keep these secrets unknowingly. For example, they have been defiled. When I talk about defilement, this is having sexual intercourse with a girl or boy below the age of 18. They keep quiet. They never talk about it because they're either going to be ashamed or be beaten as threatened. Like, you parents might be so tough on these children, and therefore they cannot come out in the open to speak to you that, you see, Uncle X did this to me. He took me to the bed and did this to me. They'll keep it as what? A secret.
And I think with that, because as parents especially, you cannot even tell that there is a secret that your child has unless if you're engaging with them. For instance, if you're always the parent that comes from work, then you straight away just walk to your bedroom. You have no time to interact with these children. So it is important that secrets at times it may also be difficult for the parent to identify that a child has a certain secret that they are not telling out, unless if you engage with the children and you're this parent that always tries to find out how maybe the children are, how did they stay, if they went for a holiday somewhere, you need to find out how was that holiday, what transpired during the time when they were away, so that then the child can have the opportunity to tell you what exactly happened, and then maybe that's how you can be able to identify certain secrets. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, share, comment. This is the Sisters Empowerment Show. Continue watching.
So you have to really find out, where did they get this phone? They have money. They are not working, correct? Of course, they are not supposed to work. You've not given them this money. So try to find out, because these are some of the items that are used to seduce these children into sexual abuse. And lastly, on this point, I think the most visible signs that you might look out for might be the physical signs. For example, the bruises. If the child has been subjected, for example, to defilement or sexual abuse, they might have bruises on their bodies, like during the sexual act. If it is forceful, the perpetrator may actually like strangle the child in the neck or bruise them in the thighs. So you have to always also have time, parents, to look at your children's bodies to find out if the child is limping. Find out, you didn't leave them limping. What happened and why are they limping? Other times they may be bleeding from their private parts. So these are some of the signs that you might look out to find out whether this child has been subjected to sexual abuse.
So in that aspect, maybe our viewers out there will also further want to know what are the forms of sexual exploitation.
Yeah, there are quite a number of sexual exploitation or sexual abuse that may be faced by children. But one most significant one is sexual intercourse. And when I talk about sexual intercourse, I think it is obvious. It means having sex or attempting to have sex with a child. This, of course, under the law is called defilement. Yeah? Defilement or any other form of sexual assault is a form of sexual abuse or sexual exploitation of children. And these are all provided and prohibited under the law, and they are punishable. This is a capital offense, like if you're caught defiling or having sexual intercourse with a child, they will imprison you. Yeah? And the other form is molesting. When I talk about molesting, this involves maybe physical touches, yeah? But today with the virtual kind of systems that we have in place, the computers and the gadgets, then the molesting can also take place virtually, by the way. You find someone is instructing your child to do ABCD, take out your panty, do what. It may not be physical with the development of technology, yeah? But it is all a kind of sexual exploitation. It's a form. The other one is pornography. We all know that some of our children are subjected to sexual exploitation through pornography. There is a creature out there who is trying to show them these sexual sins, like introduce them to these sexual sins. They may be physical, but most of the pornography today is taking place online. Yeah, there are many online pornographic sites. So our dear viewers, adults out there, parents, Please protect our children from these kinds of sites, from this kind of exploitation. And in case you learn of this kind of exploitation, please urgently report it to police so that these perpetrators are reprimanded. Yeah, I think basically these are the major forms.
Thank you. Now, of course, like you've taken us through sexual exploitation, the forms, the signs. It is important that parents out there and children that are watching really take this information very, very importantly. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, share, comment. This is the Sisters Empowerment Show. We are here to give you information and guidelines on what exactly should help us move on with our lives, to help us develop our careers. Especially now, currently, we are looking at the children. They've taken they've had a long holiday that was not really expected. For those of you that feel this is a very touching show and you have someone who is experiencing,
So remember what I'm saying. One of the ways you can guard against sexual abuse or sexual exploitation of children is sensitization of both the children and the adults. You have to sensitize the children about the need for them to protect themselves from sexual abusers, as well as sensitizing their parents on how they can guard their children against being sexually exploited. Of course, the sensitization is taking different forms. We can hear some adverts on radio, on television, on social media platforms. There are face-to-face trainings, we have workshops. So there are very many sensitization forums through which we can go on. And also this forum currently we are using is one of the modes that can be employed to guard against sexual exploitation. There is also reporting. Once you learn of someone who wants or is attempting to sexually abuse a child or exploit them, please rush to the nearest police or local council authority in your area and make sure that as you report, you have secured your evidence very well, because the perpetrator may be smarter than you. By the time you run to police, the evidence is no more. Yeah, and always encourage your children to report as soon as something bad happens to them, whether it is sexual exploitation or not. If you encourage your children and talk to them occasionally, it will be easy for them to report to you even if you have not witnessed it, so that you can take them for medical examination and then to police, and then further steps are taken. Of course, sometimes they have to be given some drugs to protect them from dangers of contracting HIV. Yeah, and I forgot to talk about the sex education as we are sensitizing. I have heard many people out there talking ill about the sex education in schools. I'm not going to delve into that. But one thing I must encourage you parents out there who are watching us, or relatives of children, please try to speak to your children about these things, so that when they happen to them, you are warning them and then guarding them. By speaking to them, you're introducing to them that this might happen. No one should touch your susu. Me, I tell my children, I have girls, I always tell them, no one should touch your susu. No one should undress you. And if someone touches your susu, please inform me. And I always tell them that that is a very delicate area that should only be touched by you and mommy. I'm talking now about their private parts. So it means that if someone attempts to or does it, they will inform me that mommy, this person did ABCD. Yeah, so that is sex education. Then avoid talking to your children to avoid keeping secrets from you. It is a very, very, very bad practice for you to get to know of an incident after a long period of time. Like your child has been defiled, or someone has had sexual intercourse with your child, and you never get to know. Then before you know it, the child is rotting in their private parts. Then you only get to know maybe when you start smelling a bad smell. And then that's when you go to hospital. And while they're in hospital, is when the child discloses to the doctor that a certain man had sexual intercourse. It means the child is keeping secrets from you. So have this relationship that we are talking about. We've been talking about this, having established this personal relationship with your child. Yeah? And then lastly, I'm going to talk about controlled use of media, both social media and local media. When I talk of local media, of course, people do not talk about newspapers, but there is a lot of information in newspapers that can expose children or subject them to being sexually exploited. Of course, sometimes they can be in positions of being trafficked. That is another form of sexual exploitation that I forgot to talk about. But how do they get into this trafficking situation? But through these medias. Sometimes they're watching programs that are for adults. So can you have controlled, what do you call it? Like you control
13 years and below. So there is a way you can set your television and children watch specific shows, depending, especially for those that watch maybe DSTV. You can control that by putting in password and you limit. Of course, for parents that provide their children with tablets, it's important that you only download those specific programs for the children to watch. But of course, there are parents that are really free with their phones, and yet they receive a lot of pornography from their friends, colleagues, and they have even no password to their phones, and children just tap into their phones, and for them, they innocently they click and touch anything, and so only to see, and actually they can forward to a colleague, even they can forward to your supervisor or your boss. You can imagine such things. So it is important that we also enable our children and limit them from watching specific or even accessing certain gadgets, so that they are not really exposed. And also we need to take note of where our children go to visit and for how long, that negligence and maybe extending responsibility anyhow without knowing the implications and impact, even following up, where are they at, for how long, we even try to follow up, even when they return, you try to engage to see what exactly was transpiring. Has behavior changed from what you knew before, and now there are new demands that the children are asking for. I want to watch this such and such, even limiting the children the time they go to bed. You know that there are families whereby even children are the last to leave the living room, and the parents insist because they've had a tight schedule. If you reach home early, you just do a few things, then go to bed. You leave the children still watching, and you know what happens beyond 10. Most of the programs on televisions are basically for adults, but you find a child sleeps even at 2 a.m. So it is important that what the points you're raising here are very important.
Maybe I'll conclude by saying that
just something. I've remembered, you see this topic of sexual exploitation, sexual abuse, culturally and in our families, the way we grew up. The aspect of sex, the talk is not really easy for us, even as the adults, like between husband and wife, at times it is very difficult, and then now we grow up so then you have to find a reason, and you give a clear reason. Of course, for some parents it's good to refer to the Bible. The Bible says this and this, it's only for the married, so it is also important in how also we have to use the networks. There are maybe in churches, there are groups, there are certain teachings in regard to sex where we can take our children to be part of those trainings. Sunday school, even just the talk, girl talk of teenagers, maybe in churches, or even through that. Even this show, you can invite some of us. For us, we can talk to your children about what it is, so that we help them understand certain things and why not to do certain things at a certain point of time. So it is important.
So lastly, Lillian, I wanted to just share my conclusion with the viewers out there and the parents. One thing I must caution you about or urge you to do is to act responsibly as parents. When I speak about acting responsibly, I'm talking about trying to make sure that your children dress decently. They are in the right place at the right time. Please do not expose to them sexual scenes like mommy and daddy are kissing and then end up having this sexual intercourse in their midst. You know, this is something that is supposed to be sacred. And some of these children learn from you adults, like mommy, you bring uncle at home. And when uncle comes, you want to expose what you're supposed to do in your bedroom, in your sitting room. So the children actually think this is the way to go. They try it out with their sister, you know. So can we start acting responsibly as parents, as adults? And can we try to always explain, as Lillian said, why if you're saying don't do this, don't go out at night, explain to the child why you're telling them don't go out. And above all, be a friend to your child. And make sure that they report to you whatever happens or takes place in their life, without like being so rude and rough to them. Like if a child comes to you and says, Uncle John gave me a sweet and told me we go with him to the bush, please do not be tough on the child, you know. First listen to them, show them some compassion and love so that they can tell you what happened, and you got them. Maybe they were lucky, they were not subjected to the sexual abuse. But if you just like shout at them, scream at them, beat them, you know, you're trying to distance yourself from them. Yeah.
Yes, our viewers, you're watching the Sisters Empowerment Show. Thank you, Daisy, for this important topic today. Please do not forget to subscribe, to like, to share, comment. You can give us whatever views you have in order to help us improve this. And do not hesitate also to invite us. We are also motivational speakers in a number of topics, especially in these areas whereby it is difficult for someone. It can be a parent, a relative who is having teenagers or children in whatever category. We have a team of many people that are professional, so we can be able to reach out to you, then we help you in one way or another. So thank you, Daisy, for coming and giving us this important information about sexual exploitation. We advise you to take important note of what has been said. You also tell others about it and share, most importantly, what we are bringing out to you. So this is the end of the show, and thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.